I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review. There's a Patreon review thanks to Paul Wilson. Thank you to everyone who has joined me on Patreon. If you're ever interested in joining my Patreon, the link to that's down below. Or if you'd ever like to request a review of a movie or a re-review of an older movie or pay-per-view, pretty much everything. And I say pretty much and I feel bad because Paul Wilson at first had requested a review of a stage play. I believe it was Paul Wilson. I could be wrong, but then I'm like, I'm not sure if I could do a stage play because I wouldn't have anything to say about stage play. And then he mentioned, how about the Wind in the Willows? This is a 1983 stop motion film. I said, okay, I'll give this a look. And this is not something I grew up with, but I know a lot of people did. Never even read the story back in the day. I don't know if a lot of people in America saw this. Could you let me know? Maybe just something that completely passed me by. But yeah, the Wind in the Willows, I didn't mind it for what it was. It definitely felt a bit more sophisticated compared to other kids' films of that time, with the voice acting and the way the characters were. Bit more prim and proper for most of the characters, the way they spoke. And I'm a sucker for stop motion animation. I always think that's an interesting animated style, whether it be Chicken Run or other movies, other avenues, even with the Robot Chicken show, which I love. I mean, I'm a sucker for stop motion animation, so it was cool to see that. Fairly short film. It was for free on YouTube. It has a good sense of charm, that British charm. Hopefully that's that offensive. And the story's fairly simple. I mean, the characters don't really have names. Mainly, one's a mole and he's called Mole. One's a rat and he's called Rat. One's a toad and he's called Toad. So they don't really have names. One's a badger, he's named Badger, but Mole, he's doing spring cleaning on his house. He's a bit tired of it. He says, fuck this, and well, not literally, but he says, fuck this, and he walks outside, and he meets up with Rat, who lives on the water, and they both have a picnic, and it's like, hey, let's go off and, on a little trip. These weasels drop by, and they're fucking dicks, and they steal some of their stuff. But like, okay, it's not going to let us ruin our little trip. And they go down the river. In a van down by the river. So, there's some songs in there. The little duckies have a little dance in the water. The songs were there. I mean, maybe because I didn't grow with it. They weren't bad, though. It seemed like nothing in the movie really made me mad or angry. There's nothing really that bad about it. I don't know if I would ever go seek out I think this became a TV show, and there's many other iterations of this story in other films, like there's some in the 90s and so forth. I'm good with watching this. Just looking at some of the clips on the other ones, this seemed like the one with the most charm because of the stop motion animation and the voice work, which is fairly solid, the voice work. Maybe because the other characters, they do a good job voice-wise, but they kind of even in their delivery. The movie kind of jumps up a little bit when the Toad character comes in because he's so energetic, and if I didn't know any better, he was on PCP, or maybe not PCP, but some kind of speed, and not the Keanu Reeves movie, but he was on something. He's hyper. Definitely, or maybe he likes to cocaine. He's a cocaine addict. I mean, I don't know, but Toad is very energetic. And he's always about the new thing. So in this case, it's the horse and carriage. And then he sees a car that knocks the carriage off. He's like, I gotta get a car. And then, I don't know where the fuck he gets his money. He must be rich as fuck. I mean, he's got a place called Toad Hall, so he is rich as fuck. So he can afford like 15 cars, and he wrecks all of them. And the more I think about it, this might have been something I caught a glimpse of back in the day. Probably on PBS or something when I was a kid. I have to assume this is one of those that showed on PBS, which is what they had in Iowa a lot. Well, probably a lot of other places, but specifically in Iowa, the public broadcasting system where you had Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers. It seemed like a movie that would fit in that vein. Because this Toad character kind of seems familiar. Or I just saw this character in a different format. I don't know. But sometimes the Toad, he would do these laughs like Pee Wee Herman. It's almost like if Pee Wee Herman was on speed and the voice was not as high-pitched. So it was kind of fun to hear it. I would say of the voice work, I would say the Toad character. Which, it seems like even the movie itself, because the movie kind of forgets about mole and rat characters and focuses on Toad for a bit of the story. And yeah, it's not a long movie. It's like an hour and 18 minutes. And he's crashing his cars, and he can't drive for shit. And now he's become like addicted to cars. And mole and rat have to go find this older guy, Badger. And one thing leads to another. Also, they do bring him back. And, Toad says he'll get better, but then he lies his ass off, and he gets out. He steals a car. He fucking outright steals a fucking car. And he goes to court. And because of the stuff he did, mainly for calling a cop fat face, which, that did make me chuckle, because I didn't expect that. He called the cop fat faced. I'm like, well, he's not wrong. But he gets like 14 years in jail. But then this woman helps him get out, has him wear this outfit. One surprising piece of dialogue, I swear the Toad says, "Oh, Mole, you silly ass." I'm like, did he just call him a silly ass? Maybe he did. I mean, I would say that if you're a big fan of stop motion animation, if you're a parent, which I don't know how many watch this are parents, and you want to see something that's very harmless, clean, meaning there's no potty humor, dirty humor of any sort. It doesn't go into humor of like piss, fart jokes, any of that. Very like kind of prim, proper voice delivery, some fun stop motion animation, 1983, which is the year I was born, funny enough. Again, the work of folks like Mole and Rat were fine, but I can't really remember having much personality with the characters. I mean, Mole and Rat could almost be like the same guy. And this, other than Rat lives on the water and Mole at one point misses his home a little bit. But they kind of had that sort of dry delivery. I wouldn't say I was bored for a little bit, but it was kind of just on that level, stable of, okay, I'm just nonchalantly watching it. And then I perked up a little bit when the Toad character, because he brought definitely a breath of energy to the proceedings. There is a fight a big fight at the end, which Sally was not that exciting and kind of petered out the movie. Maybe because of the limitations of the budget, or just the fact that with the stop motion animation, it just makes the animation a bit slow. Because you don't have like sword fights and things of that nature, but because, again, maybe of doing it in stop motion animation at the time, maybe because it's limited budget, is that, again, it just comes off as rather slow and just, again, not that exciting or not that as glorious as it could have been. So I would say that's Sally, the weakest part of it. But with that said, it's a harmless film. It's a harmless flick if you're knowledgeable in the story, The Wind in the Willows. If you look at the thumbnail or the trailer, it interests you. It's for free on YouTube, so it doesn't cost you anything. And I think it's a movie that's worth a watch, especially if you have kids. I mean, because, I don't know, it'd just be something different for kids to watch that put a little bit of a different slate on their plate, because the characters are a little bit more sophisticated and prim and proper. It'd be like a different little change of pace for kids compared to the stuff they have nowadays, like I was going to say Thunderbirds. Thundercats Roar, which I think already got canceled. Or Teen Titans on the Go of fucking Destiny, whatever the hell it's called. And Rise of the Trash. I mean, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Nasty Taints. And all the garbage of animation today. Like, this has some charm, some stop motion animation goodness, not long at all, and some nice voice acting where even the two I mentioned that were a bit dry, they were not bad at all. And the Toad character was definitely, I think, the more interesting character in the film. And he was a bit of fun with his energy. Granted, I mean, he stole a car, he's a thief, but yeah, he may be flawed, but he's not too bad of a of a person. Well, he's person, if you want to call Toad a person, but you know what I mean. But thank you, Paul Wilson. Thank you guys for watching. Take care, and we will see you with another review later.